Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would hope how these are being implemented is based on empirical data and high risk. When I look at the preliminary risk, it concerns me that we may be getting off to a rough start. We've had several pedestrians hit in the last number of years on Upper James, for example, which is a high volume, very wide street. And I'm surprised that that wasn't one of the prior areas of priority in placing this type of crosswalk. So can you help me understand why Upper James didn't make the first cut?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I can't speak to that one specifically, Councillor. I do know that staff went through and looked at a number of criteria to try and come up with the first pilots so that we could gain experience on it. What I would like to say, though, is out of the 200 or so requests that we have, one of the things that we have talked about with my staff is going through a process of prioritizing by ward and sitting down with each of the ward councillors and explaining in terms of what we think are the higher priority locations and what some of the troublesome locations might be, and further work with the ward council in terms of priorities for the next group that gets them.
So Upper James actually impacts 2 wards, 7 and 8. And yet, and I don't think there's anyone that would dispute that it's probably one of the highest volume traffic in the city. I don't think anyone will dispute that it is the one of the widest crosses for pedestrians in the city. And yet, it didn't meet the initial list. And again, to me, to raise the comfort level of implementation and prioritization, I want it based on empirical information, not political information. So when I look at this list and Upper James not making the first cut on pilot programs, again, the mountain seems to be second spot on this. So could I again help me understand why Upper James, which is probably the most critical transportation network in the city, and certainly has grown significantly with pedestrian population with the new commercial plazas and so forth, how that could possibly not make the first cut?
Through you, Mr. Chair, is there a specific location on Upper James that you're
Fennel,
concerned with?
Upper James, Mohawk, Upper James, be a good start.
So these are areas that
Stone Church, yep.
that don't have existing pedestrian crossways?
Pardon?
These are areas that don't have existing crosswalks?
They do, but they don't have it at this level.
Well, this is strictly for areas that we not put in the full signalized crosswalk. Type of crosswalk. Okay,
so that'd be like Stone Church or Duff or some of those other areas on Upper James.
One of the considerations with this type of crossing is those areas like you're talking about for Upper James. This type of pedestrian PXO crossing that we're looking at for these may not be the best application.
Okay.
And those are part of the rationale, the criteria that we'll go through and evaluate, discussions that we will have with each of the ward councils.
I'll certainly sit down with staff to better understand. There might be a reasonable explanation, but I know that the way the status quo isn't working, and we have too many people crossing at other locations because it's unsafe. And obviously we need to address it. I thought this approach might address, or at least facilitate higher risk areas to eliminate or certainly mitigate any pedestrians that are at risk. But if the criteria would suggest that a street like Upper James wouldn't qualify, so be it. I find it hard to understand, but I'll listen to staff off the line.
Item 10. Any opposed? Item 11.